All right, guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about feminist theory, and to um, we're gonna do a quick review to make sure that you guys remember everything that was uh, talked about. So first, the personal is political. This is one of the key concepts because everybody comes with some sort of political or social background that kind of shape them into who they are. And so as therapists, we can't take ourselves out of the therapy session. So we this is something that we may want to discuss with our clients. Then how everything is connected, pain, symptoms, and life circumstances. So for example, if you have um an alcoholic who is also homeless, you as a therapist want to deal with the life circumstances. And yes, of course, we want to stop the symptoms. So we want to stop the drinking and the pain that they have because that's the immediacy that they need. But we also want to talk about how the homelessness is creating these symptoms, right? So everything is sort of connected. We we remember that there are gender fair approaches. Um, we discuss how that has shaped um, clients, whether they're male or female or non-binary. Everything um, has been gendered one way or another, and so we focus on the oppression that may come from those stereotypes that people fall into. So, we also, one of the key concepts is that we want our clients to be involved in social justice. The whole, the feminist theorists think that we don't live in a perfect world, and there needs to be change, right? And not just change for women, but change for men too. So, for example, we have a change for women would be giving them more opportunities, not paying them less. But there also could be change for men that needs to happen. For example, there's shelters all over the country for women who have been battered, but I believe, only one male shelter in the whole United States. So we need to make different changes, but definite changes for men to be um, accommodated as well, um, when it comes to certain things that they just kind of get glanced over, like abuse. Um, okay, so we want our clients to be involved in social justice, and so we preach that. Flexible multicultural perspective reminds us that each person that comes into your therapy office is an individual. So they may have a specific background, but that doesn't mean that they fall into that. And you treat them as an individual, and you make um, research to make sure that you understand their background, understand where they're coming from and stuff like that. But also, you use them, not use them, but like they give you the information too. So it's you treat them as an individual. You want them to stand on their own 2 feet, sort of way. Then we focus on wellness. That's how we can tell that we're making progress. Wellness. Um, we want people to be okay, not comfortable with the status quo, because we want that resistance to oppression aspect, and we want them to participate in social justice, so then that way their change can be made. And then we also survive. It's very important for us to get through each day one way or another. So survival is very important, and that's how we measure these last three: wellness, resistance to oppression, and survival. That's how we measure the outcomes of therapy. Okay, and now I'm gonna teach you how to do feminist theory. Okay, So, in this first section, we will take a look at Tiana, a Disney princess who was born in Louisiana and kissed a frog who was a prince. She talks about her work ethic and where she got the idea that she should be working all the time. This is important because for feminist theory, we must figure out the norms for our clients and discover where they are coming from so they can understand that most things learned are meant to oppress. For women and specifically women of color. Not only does she speak about her work ethic, but she also talks about her love for cooking, which moved from a fun activity to a job. This is an important shift, her finding that cooking can be a love again. Because resistance to oppression is key. Tiana, I notice how tightly you're holding your hands. What's happening inside of you right now?
I guess I'm used to holding everything together. If I let go, even for a second, it feels like everything I've worked for might slip away.
That's a very powerful image. Feminist therapy often asks who taught you that you must carry everything alone? Was it your family, society, or both?
Oh, well, my daddy always said hard work would get me my dream. And mama, well, she wanted me to find love, balance. But the world outside, it doesn't make it easy for a woman like me. Folks look at me and see limits, not potential.
That's the systematic oppression at play. The patriarchy and racism tell women of color that they must overwork to be quote unquote worthy. But you are already worthy. What would it mean if you believe that deeply?
It would mean I could breathe. I could trust that I don't have to prove myself every second.
Yes, breathing is resistance. Rest is resistance. Joy is resistance. Feminism teaches us that your liberation isn't just about achieving a dream, it's about living fully without apology.
Well, I've been so focused on saving every penny, working every shift, that I forgot what it feels like to enjoy the moment. Even cooking, my greatest love, started to feel like a burden.
That's such an important realization. Let's reframe though. Cooking isn't just labor, it's art, it's culture, it's love. How might you reclaim it as joy and not just survival?
Uh, maybe I could, maybe, maybe I could host small dinners with friends, cook dishes that remind me of my daddy and not just the ones that will sell. Share food as a celebration, not just a transaction.
That's beautiful. Feminist therapy emphasizes community, healing happens in connection. Your restaurant dream can be both a business and a space of joy, culture, and resistance. Next, we see Tiana realizing that she doesn't need to carry the world in her shoulders on her shoulders because people can help her. It's about community and that social justice piece where you help each other, help one another. That is important to feminist theory.
I think I've been carrying the world on my shoulders, but maybe I don't have to. Maybe I can let others carry me, carry some of it with me.
Yes, interdependence is power. You're not alone, Tiana. Your dream is valid, your joy is valid, and your rest is valid. Next, we look at Snow White and her life. She was a young lady that was chased out of her home because an evil queen wanted to be the prettiest woman in the kingdom. She ends up living with seven dwarfs and eventually bites an apple that sends her into a long sleep. She wakes up by the kiss of a prince, her true love. Snow White discusses her life and the barriers she has dealt with. She rediscovers and rewrites her story of weakness, which is something that she felt uncomfortable with, and writes it as a strength. This is because society and the patriarchy normally dictates a client's story and we want them to understand where it's coming from and take ownership that they might have been oppressed and what they can do to resist that oppression. Welcome back, Snow. Last time you mentioned feeling conflicted about your story. Where would you like to begin today?
I've been replaying everything: the cottage, the dwarves, the poison apple, the kiss. It all feels like I wasn't really the author of my own life.
That's an important realization. Tell me, when you think about those years, what emotions come up?
Guilt, mostly. I cared for the dwarves, cooked, cleaned, sang for them, but I never asked myself if I wanted that role. And then the prince, he kissed me while I was unconscious. Even if everyone calls it true love, I didn't consent.
That guilt isn't yours to carry. You were placed in a narrative that demanded obedience and silence. Feminist therapy is about reclaiming your agency, recognizing that your worth isn't defined by service or beauty.
So you're saying I wasn't weak, I was trapped.
Exactly. Patriarchal structures often disguise exploitation as romance or duty. You survived them. Next, we look at the beast. Um, he is a prince who was cursed to be a beast, hence the name. And all of his servants were transformed into household items because of this curse. He then met Belle while he was still a beast, and eventually they fell in love, which in turn broke the spell, turning him and his servants back to humans. In this clip, he discusses his gender roles which were imposed on him and how they make him feel. Like Tiana, he discusses the origin of the imposed roles and comes to understanding that he can change the narrative by resisting those roles. Welcome, Beast. How are you feeling today?
I feel everyone still sees me as very monstrous. And I roar and I rage. And inside, I feel like I'm tired of being made to be the villain.
Well, let's unpack that. When you say villain or monster, what does that mean to you?
I feel like in any room I go into, people automatically assume the worst. I feel like I am always a book that's being read by its cover.
That sounds like you were taught a very narrow definition of what masculinity is. Who told you this?
It's hard to say, I guess. I feel like in the country that I come from, it is very much about how to be a man's man and what it is to be a good wife. And so I guess I learned from my parents and their relationships and our stories and just how my friends and I went about relationships.
Okay. Um, so if they have these expectations of you, like these definitions or narrow definitions of masculinity, and you saw this through the people that you surrounded yourself with, how did that serve you?
Ultimately, I feel that those that were around me were too afraid to engage with me in a real way. I mean, they're my servants largely. Also, I feel many of them shared the same values. I don't think it was a challenge to them that I am the way that they see me. Sometimes I feel like they need to see me that way. Like, even if I were to make great changes, they would still always see me as the beast.
Okay. So they always see you as the beast. And have you ever stopped to see who you want to be?
I don't know. I guess I've always been so frustrated and angry about who I am that I never really thought much about who I wanted to be.
Mhm. So let's unpack that. Who do you want to be?
Hmm. I don't know that I've ever been asked that outside of like a career, which was also already chosen for me.
Mm-hmm. Next, we have the beast again, wanting change, which is a really big part of feminist theory, which is social justice. We want our clients to participate in social justice, to not be okay with the status quo because it's not fair to everyone. So we practice that. Therapy is about dismantling those walls and um, wondering. I'm wondering, what would freedom look like for you?
Hmm. Being a part of something,
Okay.
something good, not just hiding away in my tower.
I hear longing for connection and justice. There's a rally this weekend, social justice, equity, dismantling harmful systems. Would that align with your values?
Yes, but a rally with the people.
Yes. Showing up can be very powerful. It's not about being perfect. It's about solidarity.
I like solidarity.
Okay. So then let's make a plan. You'll go not as beast, but as someone committed to change.
Maybe that's the pathway forward.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, guys, that's it. If you have any questions, please uh, email me and I will answer those.